call.
Here. Mr. Pallone?
Here.
Mr. Sirianni will be absent. Dr. Selly?
Here.
Mrs. Bastelli?
Here.
And I hereby certify that this meeting has been published in the newspapers in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act and posted as required by law.
Okay. Our first presentation is for a project called Ocean Gate, and we have presenting Mr. McGann and Charles Avery, Jason Pitcher, James Montefort, and Tom Bauer.
Yes, thank you. For the record, this is the application of SAMTD Acquisitions Cooper Avenue LLC, and thank you for inviting us for a presentation this evening. We're going to lead off with Tom Bauer, who is our licensed landscape architect, and then Jim Montefort will follow up. And if you have any questions, we do have Jason Pfister here, who is our professional engineer. All right, so I know you're a little pressed for time, so we're going to move as quickly but thoroughly as possible.
Perfect. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm very excited to have the opportunity to introduce Ocean Gate to you tonight. It's an exciting project. I'm going to ask Matt to hit the lights here for a moment. And I'm going to start with a little bit of a key map, locate the site for you so we all understand exactly where it is, what size it is, what surrounds it, what the site consists of today. Then we're going to go to a very brief video animation, which I think you'll like, with a little music, a little foot tapping action, and we'll go from there. So Ocean Gate, here's where we are. View from above, flying over, we've got the ocean and the beach and the boardwalk. We've got Ocean Boulevard directly going in the north-south direction, left to right. Beachfront North is directly across our site. Pier Village is in this location. The Ocean Place Hotel Conference Center in this location. Again, as I said, directly across from Beachfront North is our site, Ocean Gate. This is Cooper Avenue at Beachfront North, where the tower is in the center circle, as we all know it. Cooper Avenue comes directly, will be the entrance to Ocean Gate community. As you know, today, Cooper Avenue does not go through to Ocean Boulevard. It will eventually. So this is our 11.6 acre area of improvement. We'll hear more about that as we go forward. Within that area, within the 11.6 acres of property that we are improving, we have approximately a 5-acre parcel that I am tracing right here, where our buildings will be constructed, where our parking will be, where our public park and improvements will take place. That will border, as I mentioned, Cooper Avenue will be the main entrance. Whitmer Avenue is to the west of our property, Seaview Avenue to the north. Cooper Avenue, as I mentioned, comes off of Long Branch Avenue, which is further to the west. Cooper Avenue today terminates at this point short of Ocean Boulevard. And then we have the Monmouth Rubber and Plastic Corporation to the south, and again, as I mentioned, Ocean Boulevard. So that's our site, that's where it exists today. Our proposal before you this evening is a very exciting one, as I mentioned. A series of buildings on our 5-acre site. In essence, it looks like it's 2 buildings, but it's really 5, as you'll hear more about in detail from Jimmy. Where's Jim? You'll hear more about that tonight. So I mentioned Entry Boulevard off of Ocean Boulevard at Cooper Avenue. We enter the site and immediately we approach a beautiful public park for the benefit of the public. You'll hear more about that, and you'll see some very nice graphics of that in our video, which will follow. We have the main lobby in this location to our first building. In essence, this is 3 buildings. Again, as you'll hear more about from Jim, it has a rooftop park, actually 2 rooftop greens over parking below. So none of that parking is visible to the public. It's a tremendous amenity. A lot of beautiful streetscape along Ocean Boulevard with a nice grade change, very similar to what we did at Pier Village. Same kind of palette of material, same jetty rock, that kind of planting and site amenities. So beautiful streetscape, beautiful entry area. As I mentioned, this will be a one-way circulation pattern for vehicles around the public space, very much pedestrian oriented. But we will have a connection out to Long Branch Avenue via Cooper Avenue, and there will be public parking on that streetscape as well. In this building, actually 2 buildings, to the south, we have multi-story residential dwellings, and we have a clubhouse in this location with a beautiful recreation amenity, both indoors and outdoors for that area. So that's a very brief introduction and explanation of the plan. I think we're going to go to the video next. I'm going to ask Matt to come over and flip this on for me, and we will follow with some more information following that. So thank you for that moment, and enjoy the video. We'll start again, Matt? Sure.
This is like Adele.
There's no sign. Where's Adele? We're going to start it, but I'm not going to curse like Adele did. Okay.
There we go.
Four in all.
that completes the video. I hope you like that. I think I think you will agree, there's some wonderful architectural design that you're going to hear a little bit more about from Jimmy. There is it's a tremendous amount of detail and amenities in the public spaces, both for the public as well as the residents on some of the roof deck. As you can see from the video, there's a lot of really nice things happening here. So we're excited about that. This next slide, I'm going to introduce Jimmy in a moment.
Are you going to do a little, Tom, you're going to talk about a little bit of infrastructure improvements around the site?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Or is Jason going to do that?
Jason, going to come up to it? Okay. Jason's going to talk about this next slide. He's going to emphasize a little bit of detail about the 11.6 acres and some of the other public off-site improvements.
So there's some public improvements that are proposed as part of this project. what Tom was just describing is mainly related to the project right in the center here, but you'll notice some areas that are shaded beyond the project or the property boundary, all the way from CVS to Seaview Avenue, Whitmer Avenue, Long Branch Avenue, and even some drainage improvements up to this tidal discharge here. There's going to be certain levels of improvements to the streets, sidewalks, curb, those type of thing throughout.
Along Ocean Boulevard, you show, maybe you can just describe the sidewalk, the bike paths and things like that?
I'll take that, Tom?
Sure. Sure. As I mentioned, very similar to what we did in Pier Village. All along Ocean Boulevard, we will have a meandering pathway, a sidewalk or a bicycle path throughout. More sidewalk because there's going to be a separate bicycle path in the future. Ample berming and landscaping and grading. None of the parking that's below this building will be visible because of the grade that we will be creating through retaining walls and berming. Landscape planting and lighting throughout. Decorative light fixtures as well. Site furnishings, benches, trash receptacles, and the like. I'm sorry, I'm standing either way. But all along Ocean Boulevard, and we'll be doing landscape improvements all the way down to the corner at Broadway where the CVS is. Okay. So we'll be extending those improvements down to that corner. So quite a lot of improvements for Ocean Boulevard.
As well as Whitmer.
As well as Whitmer as well.
Curb, sidewalks, and drainage.
That's correct. Curb, sidewalk, drainage on Whitmer. Yes.
Jason, can you just touch on the chronic problem they've had on Long Branch Avenue over the years and the flooding problem down there?
There is we're working together with your city engineer, who is Mazer. Down this outline here is outlining a pipe that we're going to be upsizing to help the drainage situation in that area. There's currently somewhere in this area here in the middle of where we're improving Long Branch Avenue, there's a flooding problem. And your engineer is trying to work on a design to mitigate that issue. What we are showing is improvements to Long Branch Avenue, but we know that there's going to be some changes to that in the future depending on what Mazer comes up with their design. So we'll work with them on that. Whatever their design is, we're in for helping to improve that flooding problem and Long Branch Avenue.
Okay, good. All right.
Whitmer Avenue might be worth discussing a little bit. Whitmer Avenue right now is in very bad condition of pavement. It's a very narrow street. We're proposing to basically rebuild the entire street. There's also drainage problems there. Toward the south end, there's a low point with the pining area. We're proposing some drainage improvements to solve that. We're also providing parking on both sides. And we also recognize that there are, I'm sorry. What did I do, Tom? Oh, there we go.
There you go.
There are some homes on the west side and the east side of Whitmer Avenue that we're not disturbing, so when we do these public improvements, we're going to maintain their driveways and try and have as little disruption to their property as possible, hopefully none.
Thank you.
We plan on going out to walk the site, discuss with the neighbors what the plan is on Whitmer, because some of the property lines, they've sort of encroached out into the road a little bit, so there's going to be some changes. We don't want it to be surprised. We want to sit down with it. So I've offered to walk with the engineer and the owners to go out and meet the people.
Okay.
Long Branch Avenue is an area of concern for me. I'd like to know a little bit more detail about the drainage improvement. Do you have anything more you can?
Not really, because Mazer is, your engineer, is going to be putting that design together.
Mr. Frida?
No.
Lisa.
Mr. Franza from Mazer.
But I can give you the general idea. There's a low point down by the park. And I believe this tidal water works its way backward through some inlets and comes up there. So you have drainage problems, number one, and you have tidal backflow, number two. So there's been discussion of raising the road a little. There's been discussion of upsizing some pipes, maybe even putting a check valve on the pipe to prevent the tide from coming through. It hasn't been solved. These are ideas that have been tossed around. Whatever it is, this developer is committed to help install those improvements.
Talking about milling, repaving, changing the profile, and redoing the drainage. Mostly where the old trestle was, where the issue is.
It actually works out well with our project because our stormwater system, we drain toward the west. That's just the natural lay of the land where it goes. So we'll be installing a drainage system that takes pipes down Long Branch Avenue and into that tidal outfall, which is the DEP's preferred method of stormwater management. Discharge the tidal water, therefore you don't have flooding problems. So while we're putting in these pipes, Mazer gets to work with us on that. It's two birds with one stone, if you will.
What about on Whitmer? There's the same problem there, right?
Correct. There's
no drains there currently, correct?
I don't think there are any. If there are, it's very limited, but toward the southern third, there is a low point with no inlet, so there is ponding there. So throughout Whitmer, we're going to regrade it properly so it drains. We'll put in some inlets and some pipes, and all of that eventually connects and gets out to that.
So you think you'd solve the problem on Whitmer that
Yes.
currently exists?
Yeah, we absolutely will. Change the profile of the road, put the
Yes.
drains in.
100%. Great.
Okay. Anything else? Good. Mr. Bonaforte?
How much time do I have?
As much as the council gives you.
5 minutes? Hope that's enough time to talk. Okay, so this is how our buildings lay out on the site. We're doing a contemporary seashore style architecture. Our buildings are 4 stories above parking. This building is 3 buildings, the main entrance building, then there's the U-shaped building, and then across Whitmer we have 3-story buildings. So what I tried to do is reduce the scale to the back of the building on Whitmer so it had a lower look to it, because when you add these buildings over the parking, they get a little taller, so it's a little, the taller parts of the building face Ocean Boulevard. So this, when you come into our building from over here, there's an entrance into the garage, and then there's a main entrance into the lobby, and there's also a drop-off area here. So I could. All right, so here's the basic aerial of our building. You can see the U-shaped building, the main entrance. Now, when I laid out the buildings, I wanted this main entrance to line up with the little clock tower they have, or lighthouse on the other side in the beachfront north. And what happens is Cooper is off-center to everything, so it really created our square for us without us having to create the square. So we just created this beautiful park in the middle, as you saw in the video. And our buildings are this building is 4 stories above the garage, and this is 4 stories here, and the buildings in the back are 3.
Did you point out Whitmer and Gordon?
Whitmer is across the back. So here's Cooper, Whitmer goes to the back. So this is building 1, we call it 206 cars underneath the roof. The buildings here shield the garage from the back side where Whitmer is. These are 3 stories, and then the building jumps up in the back here. This is our main entrance lobby. So when you come in as a visitor, you come in here and there's visitor parking, and you can go out the back way on Whitmer. So it's kind of this loop without going into the secured parking area for the residences. You come into the lobby, and then you'll be told where your tenant is, and you'll be buzzed up. It's a very controlled environment. It's we're trying to create a hotel kind of feeling. We live there. It's very secure. Everything is operated with fob access. With the, you swipe your key on the door, it opens up. We have several storage units on this level. Each unit gets a storage unit, and there's also a basement under this level that has the rest of the storage units. So here's our main level. These are the 3-story units in the back. This is our U-shaped building, and this is our main entrance. This is 4 stories, 3, and then 4 over parking. There, in this building, there's 127 units in this building, this complex of the project. And these, as you go up, I just want to point out on the upper floors, or as an amenity to the upper floor units, everybody gets, majority of these units have lofts that look down into the unit below.
Are they going to be rentals?
They're rentals.
No,
Yes,
rentals.
all rentals.
So here's our main entrance. This is our clubhouse. Our clubhouse is 14,000 square feet. It has an indoor basketball court, 2 levels of fitness center, a big club room, a pool, as you saw in the video. So we're really trying to get the amenities up. Being on the west side, we're not as, we don't have the ocean. So we're creating our own amenities to compete with what's on the ocean. I know there's a lot of nice projects going on, and we want to be able to compete. This is our Whitmer before, and this is our Whitmer after. So these are 3 stories. This is where is this? This is on the other, the northerly building with the courtyard in front as you approach coming south on Ocean Boulevard. This is Ocean Boulevard, and that's going to be there. What's interesting I'd like to show you here is that our berm actually goes higher than our courtyard. So when you look at the project, you don't see anybody in the courtyard. So we kind of slope up, and then it becomes a little more private back in here for everybody. It cuts down on the noise from the cars and gives them a private area. This is an aerial view of that. We have an amphitheater, so we can run movies for the people who live here. We have more amenities here. We have barbecue grills, place to eat, trying to keep the grills off the decks so people have a common taste to cook. This is from the corner. Here's our clubhouse, the last building. Everything again is burned up. Can't see the garage. This is looking at our entrance drive here, and here's the square. Now, building 2 is along Cooper. And interesting thing about this building is you actually drive under it and back out, and there's parking across the back as well as parking under the units. There's 3 stories above this level. And there's actually bridge units that float across so you drive in. And so roof, again, the top floors have balconies. This is looking up Cooper before, so our building runs over here. The interesting thing we're doing with Cooper is it's going to be one way this way, and then there's going to be an island. Kind of little raised, and then there's angled parking, and then you go the other way. So it creates a really interesting streetscape there with parking. So here's the lower level going this way, and then the upper level runs that way, and that's our building on that
Is that
side.
looking east?
This is looking east. We have a dog park in the back. The dog park. Our clubhouse, we have a basement level gym with many rooms up there. We have open up top, we have a fitness center that looks, juice bar that looks down. We have a business center. At the top, we have a concierge apartment to secure the building. And then this is our clubhouse. So you know, we also have this covered lanai with outdoor gaming and book billiards and music entertaining, having parties, come out, there's a bocce court out there, and the pool. And this is, what I think is really, Tom did a really nice job here, is because on the other side of this is our rubber plant, and I think it's Atlantic Plumbing Supply, so we're trying to screen ourselves and create an environment for our people to live in.
You mentioned the park.
Yeah.
Is that for the residents only?
No, that's in the public right of way. The outside park or the dog park?
The outside.
Outside.
Yeah, the square is in the middle of the street, so anybody can go there.
Okay.
This is it lit up at night, we have string lights.
Surrounded by Cooper Avenue, we now make it like a box around it.
Okay.
It'll be in the center of it.
Jim, how big is that park, the public?
That's an interesting question.
We'll get you an answer.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. That's the exact number.
So there's what, about 180 units, is that what it is?
So there's 169
Plus,
units, plus like caretakers.
And then how many visitors and tenant parking spaces are there?
Well, it's according to we meet the ordinance, there's 2 per unit, 2 parking spaces per unit, plus another, I think there's 14 spaces available.
For visitors?
Yeah, and we have a lot of ones, so we're anticipating that there's not gonna be all 2 people having 2 cars.
And then you mentioned additional parking on Cooper, which would include angled parking, is that correct,
Yes.
coming in? What's the total of those parking spaces, any idea?
Those, yeah, I think I have that listed.
It's included in the count, right?
They are included in the count. It's actually
Oh,
part of
that's
the,
included
it's
within
part of
the
the
count,
requirement of
overall
the
count.
ordinance that we provide some of our parking for our actual tenants to be off from the actual site, so on street. So Cooper, I think there's 22 cars there that are angled park.
The park, by the way, is about 1/4 of an acre in size.
Did you want to go over some textures and materials?
Oh, yeah. I brought a sample board. I think we did a pretty nice job selecting colors. We tried not to blend in with the project next door. We wanted to have our own identity. So we're going to be mostly this gray color. Our windows are the terry tone with our panels, terry tone also. And that's how I kind of created this linear look to kind of give it a little more contemporary feel and connect the floors up. We have a beautiful stone, and our roofs are this blue color, as well as our railings to have that kind of nautical feel. We have an asphalt roof, and this is basically hardy plank siding, which is cementitious siding.
So do you currently own the whole 11.6 acre site?
It's, some is owned, some is under contract.
And within the 5-acre building site?
Yes.
You own that, or you're still under contract?
It's owned by various entities that are all part of the project, and there's one piece that is under contract. But everything's under contract or owned.
What is the estimated projected rental cost?
Defer that to Charlie. Can you answer that as of yet? Charlie, why don't you just step up? This is Charles Avery. He's one of the principals.
We're projecting somewhere around $1,900 for a one-bedroom and $2,400 for a two-bedroom. They're going to vary because some of them have lofts, so they're going to be different prices. It runs about $2.30 a foot is what we're aiming for.
Assuming everything goes in order, what's your timeline for construction and completion? Any idea?
Probably 2 years from beginning to end.
Complete build-out.
Do you have any more
Yes.
questions?
No, not at this time.
Kate? Nope. Don? Okay. Good, thank you very much.
Thank you for your time and consideration. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mary, do you want to see a video? Charlie? 3 minutes. Charlie.
In spite of you, it was great.
Using another Springsteen song?
No, we cheated.
Yes.
Let me introduce Matt Yeager, by the way, who's very responsible for all this modeling and graphics from
How long
our,
did it take to put this together, this video?
a long time.
Not that long, don't worry.
I'm just curious, because the technology is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing, yeah.
Separate, yeah, separate lot. Right. Three lots, make it 3 separate lots.
Yeah, because we didn't have to break down.
The delicate canis?
This happens.
I know.
What are you going to do?
Show good faith.
Yeah.
You know, that'll take care of itself in time.
We have a lot.
I'm okay.
Are there any other, Okay, I'd like to review the regular meeting agenda. Does anyone have any questions? I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Do we have any questions for the regular meeting agenda?
Yes. Kevin, can you go over the resolution, just so we understand what's happening with Monmouth Beach and Long Branch Fire Company?
Yeah, so the city of Long Branch provides mutual aid to Monmouth Beach, the fire department, as part of mutual aid. When the career fire department responds there and gets engaged in a fire, where it's going to take them out of the city for some period of time, we have to backfill the station so we cover our town. Monmouth Beach is going to pay the cost of that overtime. It's as simple as that.
Okay, but the mutual aid agreement, we have that with other communities as well?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
But in this particular case, they were asking for the career department to respond to fires because they are very limited in their volunteers.
And that's, Monmouth Beach is a volunteer?
Completely volunteer.
Completely volunteer.
Absolutely.
So what's different here, though, is what is the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.? What was?
We respond on some first calls on that time frame to high hazard responses. We'll respond, and if we get engaged, we'll backfill our station, and then they'll pay the cost of that.
So does that mean then that all of their calls are going to be answered by Long Branch?
No, sir.
Or no?
No, just buildings are identified as high hazards. There's 3 high rises, there's a school, the sewer plant, there's, I don't know, 8 or 10 buildings that might have alarms in them that are considered high hazards, and they respond on first call during those time frames.
From 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.?
Correct.
So outside of those buildings, they have their typical, usual volunteer squad that takes care of
They do, Monmouth Beach works with Seabright. They have a mutual aid between the two of them, so they dispatch Seabright and Monmouth Beach at the same time. But, you know, they're hurting for manpower, and this was a solution that they thought would help both of us.
Does that change anything, like when you mentioned backfill with the staffing? Does that change our staffing at all?
No, it's just that the men that we commit over there, we bring in that number of men back to the city or to the scene, whatever is decided, and the Vermont Beach pays the cost of that, so the taxpayers aren't paying that.
So it's not like there would be an overtime increase because you need to staff City of Long Branch to be able to accommodate Monmouth Beach?
There would be an overtime increase to staff when they're in Monmouth Beach, and Monmouth Beach is going to pay for that.
And I saw in here, that's going to include the overtime costs as well?
Oh, yeah.
Or the regular?
No, the overtime, all the costs incurred.
So if it's an overtime
Absolutely.
cost?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How long have we been sharing that service with Monmouth Beach?
Oh, my goodness. I would say a long time. And listen, and conversely, you know, they come here for us when we have a fire. You know, they have a ladder truck that they've responded to several large fires that we've had. So it goes both ways.
Can we then, I was a little confused by his talk about use of 3391 and 25.
Yeah.
Is 3391 theirs?
That's their ladder, and they've offered it to us. In the event our ladder goes down and we need a ladder to cover, they'll bring a ladder into our building, and we're saying that we'll only let people that are qualified operate it. But that's a really nice offer for them to do, to bring the piece into our town should we need it.
So that's their equipment.
That's their equipment, absolutely, yeah. I know, the guy that wrote it, he wrote it as if he was explaining it to another fire company. I saw that too, yeah.
Okay. Just 2 other questions. One, this was for Mike. Mike, I think I understand it, but that Big Belly, there's a refund $20,000 for those solar trash cans that we were looking at a long time ago.
Yep, that was a bid deposit return. Originally, when they did the original bid for the 80 cans, they put a bid deposit up to $20,000.
Oh, they put the bid.
Yeah, we purchased.
We're just returning
So
it.
we're returning that.
We purchased six or eight of them.
3.
I think I have 6 of them, I think we bought, didn't we?
3?
How many what, we buy?
3.
Which we have, they were delivered, we're gonna put them in service this summer.
Okay.
You want to test
As a
them?
test, see if they're worth it before we spend that.
I see, so they put up the bid money and then we return it.
It's their money, we're giving back to them.
Okay. And then the last question was 4417, the rescinding the contract for the concession stands.
Yeah, that person notified us that they dissolved their corporation. They've
Right.
gone belly up.
So
So,
my question is, the equipment that they needed to purchase to put in there, did they leave it or they pulled it all out?
they left it for the time being, and we are in discussions with the tenant. She may end up leaving it with us. We're not 100% sure. We're still trying to work out the legalities of that. So she expressed interest in to Dave Spalding to leave the equipment in lieu of the city trying to go after her for the balance of her contract. So we may be coming back to you, recommend that, but it's early in the phase right
When do
now.
we have to get that out for bid again?
We're hoping to do it by the end of this month or the beginning of next month.
February, March?
Yes, sir.
The reason I'm asking is because I was told that, in other words, when you first went out to bid, if I'm not mistaken, I think there were many potential bidders. There were like 15 or so.
I
And
couldn't
then
answer
I
that.
think there were only 2 who actually showed up and actually bid. And I was told that part of the reason was that because it's electric and not gas, that expensive equipment that is sort of unusual had to be purchased to make it electric.
Well,
Is
it's
this all
electric
making
equipment.
sense?
It's
So-
electric equipment, but the fit out is a little bit pricey. And the other issue that we were told by some folks was that we lumped all 3 concession stands into one bid. So we're discussing internally about perhaps bidding West End as a standalone and then bidding the others maybe, because one's a dry goods and one's a cooking, because it's a big expense. I think that scared a lot of people away. We've heard from some local merchants that were interested, but it's
So
it's
that,
cost.
yeah, I mean,
So
obviously,
we're reviewing that.
so the idea would maybe ideally be to keep the equipment if could. You might have more people.
That's our hope, is to get as many people to bid on it and as much interest from local people as we can. That's our goal.
I have a question regarding the shared services. Were any of those contracts new, or are they all repeats?
Shared
You
services.
talking about
Yeah,
animal control, the animal control contracts?
Animal control?
They're all renewals.
All of them are
We've had them
renewals?
all.
Well, the animal control ones are renewals. Which other ones were you
There
referring
was,
to?
there was the fire,
Fire's new,
which one?
the
Monmouth Beach.
Monmouth Beach one.
That part of it is new, right?
Well, that
Or
agreement, we never had a
agreement.
shared services agreement before.
You never had the agreement at all?
Yeah, we never had one before. This is new.
Oh, that is a new one.
Monmouth Beach is new.
Okay, that's what I was asking before.
No, you were asking if we provided mutual aid previously, and we've been doing that for years.
Okay.
We never had a formal agreement written.
Okay, so this is a new formal agreement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good, that's what I wanted to know. And when we do put together that bid for the concession stands, I would like to include specific things in that, please.
We'll certainly try.
Such as what?
Such as not, certain things. We had requested some healthier options, and I think instead we got pretty much opposite of healthy. So I'd like to be more specific with some of that.
When we come back to present to you, the terms and conditions are gonna have to be approved again by you, so you will have the option of seeing what's in there now, and then whatever slight changes you might wanna make, that's gonna have to be part of it, because we're talking about changing, so we can't use the existing conditions that applied before. We have to go back, come before you, then you have to approve them. Once they're approved, then we'll put the bid out with the new terms and conditions.
Good.
Yeah, well, my suggestion would be, if any of you have any particular desires to have something there, get in touch with Dave Spalding. That'll start the process. We'll talk about it internally to make sure that what you're looking to do can be done and won't have a chilling effect on the
Well,
bid.
there were things on the menu like fried Oreos, fried Twinkies, fried peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Whose menu?
The concession stand. Would you like to see the picture?
No, I'm not, you're talking about the people that were in there before?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They can solve those things, you just wanted a better choice.
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if that's good and healthy for our children.
I would say it's not, but I'm not gonna get to micromanaging down on kids.
Well, there's quite a bit of unhealthy food on the menu. And not very many options. Okay. Ready? All our questions are answered? I need a motion to I need a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I need a motion to adopt the resolution to go into executive session for the following items. Contract negotiations for Pier Village 3 and the Bluffs. Litigation for Lepore. Retention of out-of-state legal counsel for judgment collections. Personnel, blue collar, white collar.